Well, good morning, everybody. This is meteorologist Andrew Panero. Early start to the day. The first thing I want to show you, the shifter. If you watched my last August maintenance car video, I talked about the shifter knob, the top part of the shifter. I got a new one. I kind of like it. I'll show you it now. And also, this video will be about the oil change. If you also remember from that video, I said I should be coming up on the oil change in a couple of months. I'm driving more. So I realized I'm about 6,500 miles between oil changes. So that's about as much as you really want to go. So I'm going to be changing the oil in today's video too. Alright, first thing first, this is the stock shift knob. This just unscrews. Long thread. And that's what the stock shift knob looks like. We're not going to take anything else off just because all you do is just thread in the new one. The new one came in this very fancy box. Looks like a jewelry box. There it is. It almost looks like a little cherry bomb in this. But there's the shift pattern. Black knob, red bottom to match black and red stitching. Alright, so with this, in the middle, inside, there's something called a backer. So when I'm threading this on, if the shift pattern doesn't match up, if it's crooked to one of the other sides, then there's a little backer that it comes with an Allen key in the box. You can adjust so it matches and you can get the shift pattern to be perfectly straight for where you're shifting. The other biggest thing, this is much heavier, so that should help with the shifts because you're adding in a bunch of extra weight, so momentum helps when you're going between the shifts. Alright, so this just gets threaded on. So at the end there, see? The shift knob doesn't match. And there's the shift knob installed. I can definitely feel the difference. It feels much easier to shift. Alright, now that I got the car jacked up after a little time lapse, a couple of things I removed first I'll show you here. First thing, the oil filter, that's removed. So this is open. I removed the filler cap, and on the other side, if I carefully go over here, the dipstick. Took those out. What you want to do when you're draining the oil, you want to make sure there's no air pockets. So by opening up all these, once you pull the drain plug out, the oil is going to flow much easier because the air that has to fill the engine, the empty spot in the oil pan to allow it to drain, can happen much easier when all the ports are open. So now I'm going to show you draining the engine. Last few drips coming out of there. Nearly filled to the brim. The other thing I like to do is actually, while everything's still open, put brand new oil in and let the new oil drain a little bit out of the drain plug. So it helps flush everything. Now when you go to a mechanic to get this done, an oil change done, they're probably not flushing it with new oil. But that's something I like to do to make sure all that dirty oil is out. Alright, so we got the bulk of the oil filled. Now, two more things. This takes 5 1/4 quarts. So, I put 5 in. I got 6 here. I'm going to put a little bit more in. I'm actually going to check the level first before I add so I know how much I have to add. But it's always good to have a little extra. Now, here's a little pro tip. The oil filter. Instead of just screwing it right on, two things you want to do first. One of them, the gasket, the rubber gasket that's on here, with fresh oil or what they call virgin oil, just wet it with the oil. Make sure it's nice and soaked so it doesn't break as you're screwing it down. Also, I cleaned this, but you want to make sure that surface where the oil filter sits is nice and clean. The second tip, and this helps protect the engine on first startup, because after an oil change, when you first start the engine, there's literally no oil going to the pistons for a few seconds, which is very, very bad if it's prolonged. But the first few seconds is okay. That's just how it happens. What helps that is actually filling up the oil filter. Just filling this up. Once it fills up to the threads, let it sit, because then the filter material is actually going to start absorbing the oil. And it's okay if it overflows like that, because if you see, it's going down. And just keep watching it. If it's near the top, like this is near the top, it's pretty much full, just maybe a little bit more. Now, stick your finger in there. Get a little bit of oil right around on that O-ring. Make sure it's well lubricated, because that's what oil does, it lubricates. And now it's a little quick wrist action to get this flipped over and threaded. And what you really want to do is from when it first makes contact, so right there, it's not tight. Now you do one full rotation beyond where it first makes contact, and that's it. Do not over tighten it, because then you're going to cause issues with the gasket. Now that I have the car lowered, the engine is at normal height, normal angle. So now is when I'm going to check the levels again, and if I need to, I'll add a little bit more oil. Alright, so it does need a little bit more oil, but not by much. I have still about 90% of the oil left in here. Just a little bit it needs. Remember, you can always add, but you can't take away. Alright, so I topped off the oil to the very top dot on the dipstick. Now, gotta run the engine, go for a little drive, make sure everything feels good, and then when you come back from the drive and park it, let it cool down a little bit, not completely cool, and then check the oil again. If you need to add a little bit more, do it then. Otherwise, that pretty much wraps this up. So, if you like this video, hit that like button, hit subscribe below to see more car videos. My main thing on the channel is weather, so weather forecast videos, and maybe some climate change videos, and also maybe some weather conspiracy videos. I'm trying to have a little mini-series on that coming out. Otherwise, that pretty much wraps this up. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is meteorologist Andrew Pinero. I gotta go cool down, take a shower, and change out of this sweaty clothes. Have a great day.